Welcome back to the DNA Pest Control Podcast. Your host, Aaron.
And your host, Daniel, over there.
It is. Okay, Aaron, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about making decisions. We're talking about a little bit of efficiency, talking about indecisiveness.
Are you sure?
I've made my decision to go with this episode. Okay. Yes. So, point is, we have been kind of on a multiple part series on getting in and starting your own pest control company and what that looks like to dive into clientele, hiring your staff, hiring your technicians, the rules, the policies you want to set. And obviously with that, there are a lot of decisions to be made, right?
Absolutely.
And, we were brainstorming on this episode, and I think a lot of people get hung up on wasting time trying to make the perfect decision or the right decision, or like they're spending too much time on those types of scenarios, but then they're not spending enough time on the decisions that actually matter and require a little bit more thought. So we want to kind of structure this episode for not only technicians and office staff, but management too, because this happens on all levels of the pest control business.
Yeah.
So with technicians, a little bit more on a day-to-day scale, what are some of the things that people get hung up out in the field where they're missing time frames, or they're not as efficient, or they're causing more problems because they're indecisive that you can think of?
Well, one of the big ones that we just had, and we had a good talk with the guy, is his whole process and what he does at the door was holding him up to take longer than what he should have. And his argument behind that was because I don't want callbacks. And so he was deciding to take super long on every single appointment and doing literally everything that's unnecessary and going too much and too far, that he was actually having just as many callbacks as everybody else after we ran the numbers.
Sure.
But he was making a decision, and this wasn't an indecision part. He was making a decision to take extra long, to do more than what he had to, and it didn't create a better result.
Yeah.
But the problem is he didn't learn from that on a consistent basis. He actually decided not to learn from that until we had to have a sit down with him. And then he grew from that.
Yeah.
So he made that decision. Hey, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. I'm going to spend as much time as I can on every single account, even though we're not getting paid for anything, and we're not making enough money because of it.
Right.
But I'm making that decision so I can prevent people calling in.
Yeah.
And we still had people calling in because there's nothing you're going to do on that one singular appointment that's going to prevent every insect across the board, and you're not going to have a callback.
Right.
There's sometimes you can control it, and there's sometimes you cannot control it.
Exactly.
So when you get into that decision-making process of, I'm going to treat for this bug, but I'm going to treat for everything you can think of in every single way, you are always going to have a picky customer somewhere, and they're going to call back no matter what.
Yeah.
So are you making the decision of, I'm going to go above and beyond to the extreme and ruin my day and make it so I can only do a handful of accounts so the company's not profitable? Or am I going to decide to do what I need to, understanding that, yes, that person may call back, but the majority of people are not. And there is a number base behind that.
Absolutely.
If you're doing a good job that you're trained to do, you're probably not going to get that call back, right?
Sure.
So he was in that indecision, but deciding to do certain things in hopes that would create something better. And he didn't understand that.
Yeah.
That's one example I can think for the technicians.
I gotcha. So as a technician manager, for you technicians out there, you want to stunt your growth, call your manager on every single thing when you're not sure about something.
Now, there you go.
Let me preface this, for example. Let's say you have a general pest like ants, right? Let's say you treated a house for ants. They called back. You're going back to that home maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks later to retreat for ants. Basic scenario, you're a seasoned tech. You need to be the professional and make that decision in the field. You need to understand the property. You need to do the interview. You need to find out what's going on and solve it, right? I get a call from a technician who's been here for months, even years. They're like, hey, I'm back at this house and dealing with ants. And I'm like doing 50 million. I'm doing like 20 other things. And I'm like, oh, okay, like what's your point? Like, let's get to it.
Yeah, what's going on?
And the reason why I wanted to preface it like this is because there are certain times where you're going to phone a friend and that's okay. Like if he called and was like, yeah, this lady's having ants like just pouring out from the vents in the ceiling, but there's nothing coming in. I'm like, yeah, I've never dealt with that. Like, let's brainstorm, let's talk about it, let's figure out what's going on.
Yes.
You have ants coming in the kitchen. It's like you know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
You sprayed one time. You obviously didn't do it. You didn't do it correctly. You didn't spray the right areas. Maybe you need a bait. Maybe you have to look for outside sources. Whatever it is, make that decision in the field. Because if you start pulling other people away from what they're doing to help you on a basic task, you are lowering your value. And the indecisiveness is, I guess, now that I'm saying it out loud, I guess it comes in more into the office side. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think there's a lot more relative examples. Like when it comes to scheduling, it may come to like maybe pricing or invoicing or however that may look. But I mean, you're in the office more than I am. What's a big one that you see?
Well, I'll get into that. I want to hit on one point prior though,
I'm getting
with
excited.
with the text, because texts do make a lot of decisions. They have to make a lot of decisions across the board. The problem is a lot of this decisions that are made are incorrectly or at the wrong time. One of those examples is, hey, if you have a process for rodent estimates or something like that, I go to a house, I'm just here for your general treatment. I have a day of 20 appointments. I don't have time to give you a proper estimate. Okay. So many guys make the wrong decision and say, yeah, I'll do that right now. You do not have the luxury to make that decision at that point. You need to tell that person, I can't. And I'll tell you why I can't. I have a ton of appointments going on today, so I can't do that today. But I'll let the office know to reach out, and we'll get a day that I can actually spend the proper amount of time to give you the best estimate that I can. Because if I rush this now, I'm going to miss something. And I can't do that.
Yeah.
Because I got a ton of other appointments I got to do, and I got to get it done within the 8-hour allotted time. If I go over that, hey, but I want to be honest with you. Yeah. Right. Those are times to make those decisions. So techs are making a lot of decisions, and sometimes it's not indecision on their part. They're deciding and they take action, but they're taking the wrong action.
Okay.
So even when it comes to deciding, in some cases, are you deciding the right or are you deciding the wrong? I'll give you another one. The office typically routes. So me as a tech, I'm going to go look through my route and I'm going to look at it and be like, I could do this way faster in a better way. And I'll tell you right now, we have a couple guys that will do that, and they try to make it their way. And I'll be honest, it's funny. 90% of the time, how they do it and in the different order of how it was originally scheduled. Well, yeah. Well, no, okay. I'll bring it back. Recently. Recently. Okay. In the past, yes, they were making the decision to jump out of order and it ruined their day. Recently, they've jumped out of order and it didn't actually ruin their day. What's amazing to see, because we get to see the miles, we get to see the time that it should take. It is the same. Okay. So you were deliberately deciding to go out of your way and out of order to literally do the same exact thing that original route could have been. Okay. Those are some of the decision making on the technician. I'm going to decide to do this, but there may not even be a better outcome.
Yeah.
Up here, there may be, but in reality, there's not. It's the same guy who's driving super fast to just hit a red light and I catch up to him, even though I was going super slow.
Right.
You made a decision. It didn't get you any. You got to the stoplight faster than I did.
With less gas now.
Yeah, with less gas now, but I just showed up. It's the same, right? So those are some of those decision or indecision making, right? You do have guys that will call and they're asking, and it's like, well, you just treated like 5 different ant jobs prior.
Yeah.
What's this one so different?
Right.
And there's some restrictions there and some stuff, and those are always good. But it's a lot of with technicians, it seems to be more of the bad decisions being made than actually indecision of, I don't know what to do, or I'm not going to make a decision on that.
True.
But it also goes back. If you don't make a decision, you're making a decision not to make a decision. Yeah. Follow that one. Yeah. So even by not acting, you are acting. Right.
Exactly.
Now, going onto the office. Yes, I do have a lot of office ones, right? A lot of the times, office personnel will get into a position where somebody calls, they ask for something, and the person's like, they asked for this. What do I do? And it's like, well, can we do it? No. So then tell them no.
Yeah. I spent $160 a year with you guys. I need someone out here right now.
Yeah.
Today.
It's like, we don't have it.
Can't, but they're upset on the phone. I
Yeah.
understand.
But that's where it comes in, right? Where do I put this person? I'm scheduling. I have no idea where it is, and my simple thing is we'll place them where it's best. Well, what if they can't? Well, I didn't ask you what if. I asked you to put it where it's best.
Yeah.
And how you present that is what the customer will say. So there is a lot of indecision, and there's more indecision in the office because techs have 15, 20 appointments and they just have to get through their day and they have to decide. Mm-hmm. There's a very little indecision there, right? Yeah. It's not, I don't have to make a decision. It's like, you got to get through your day. So however you get through your day,
true,
you're either deciding the right or the wrong. The office is typically where they get so bogged down and they start to bring in so many people because it's, where do I put that person? How do I answer that? Can I cancel them out? Can I not cancel them out? I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle this, and it's, are you learning from those mistakes? And I just went over a ton, right? I mean, literally all of those I've been asked dozens of times, and it's, if you get the correct person in, they start to say, oh yeah, I remember that. I know exactly what he's going to tell me. So I'm going to put it here.
Exactly.
And I've had that. I actually, with, the girl we brought on, we started training her. I went through everything and I stopped, every time she'd ask me, I said, well, what do you think?
I'll do this.
Yeah.
Always was the best decision. Yeah. Great choice.
Well, she would actually say like, well, I would either do it here or I would do it there. And this is why. And then I literally go in and look and I'm like, I got nothing to tell you because I would have done the same thing. You literally pulled the two best areas to put that person. Mm-hmm. What am I going to tell you to do anything different?
Right.
And now she's actually doing it.
She is.
There's appointments that are way out, far away, and she makes the decision that I would have made. And it's amazing to start to see that shift, but she's learning where most people don't.
Yeah.
Most people get stuck in that, like, but it's a new customer. What if they don't want it? It's like, hey, just do it.
Just do it.
Tell them, because we have to be strict on that. But the indecision kills so many people. Mm-hmm. And that's where people say, well, I want to grow. I want to be more. I want to be management. I want this. I want that. And it's like, yeah, but you can't decide.
Yeah. Seriously, I just said it with the technicians. Like, you want to stunt your growth in the office, pull everybody around you to help you with your basic stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like if you're the one scheduling, answering the phone, and you have the salesperson coming over here to help you, and then their boss coming to help you. You have a technician who's walking by and you're asking everybody. All that time, it's not just your time that you're wasting anymore. Mm-hmm. You're wasting the customer on the phone who's sitting there on hold for 5 minutes, who's probably already signing up with somebody else. All the managers you pulled in, all the people in the office who can't answer other calls that are coming in. It compounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that comes back down. Let's step it up. Let's step it up to the next spot.
Okay.
Management. Mm-hmm. Indecision with management is huge.
Yes, it is.
I'll give you one of the biggest ones that most people have issues with. And this is not here. Okay. This is not just pest control. This is literally worldwide. Any business, anywhere that has multiple people working. Okay. Management can't decide whether to hire someone or fire that person. And typically it's more on firing than hiring. Hiring's beautiful. It's fun. It's great. It's rewarding. The firing part is the hard, the difficult, seeing someone cry, seeing someone, upset and whatever. And it's the hard talks, those are the indecision that most people can't make. When do you sit down and tell someone that they screwed up?
Now.
Literally.
Yeah, well, sooner the better.
Well, you have to make a habit of it though. If you don't create that habit, your indecision takes over, and then it's, well, I'll talk to him next week, or I'll talk to him the week after, or the week after that, or the week after that, or the week after that. We actually had a talk in the last episode. We gave the example of talking to the guy about management. That was a big indecision, right? That we had. And it was, okay, we got to talk to him about it. And eventually it kind of went away, and things and responsibilities got pulled off of him. So we just assumed, hey, just across the board, it's obvious you're not moving in that direction,
Yeah.
right? I mean, but we never had the conversation.
True.
And so finally, when everything came up, there was a write-up involved and things like that. It was, we have to tell him where he sits.
Mhm.
We have to.
Yeah.
We have to tell him what it's going to take to get there. We have to. It can't sit anymore of maybe, maybe not, maybe, maybe not. It's now there.
Yeah.
And you have to decide to make that. And that's where management gets bogged down so much.
Oh, yeah.
Get it over with, move on to the next.
Mm-hmm.
What we've been now saying more and more and more and more is offense.
Mm-hmm.
Are we making the act, or are we acting, or are we waiting till someone makes that decision for us?
Yeah.
And then we're trying to play catch up and defend it.
Mm-hmm.
We're not anymore.
Yeah.
We are on the offense now, and we're making those decisions consistently, but it's so hard for management.
Yeah, it can be.
You know, is there another example you can think of with management and indecision?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're training a couple guys here to basically start stepping up into those management type roles. And something I've been saying over and over again, it's like, the reason that you're being put in this spot is because I trust you to make this decision by yourself. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'm a phone call away, but make the decision.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes it's like over and over again. Like when we first started putting one of the guys in a more quality control, more of a higher tier sales position where he's having to go to these pissed off customers, he's having to go to these jobs where we have to correct a lot of things. And in the very beginning, he was like, I don't know what to do. And it was kind of the same talk you had with the person in the office where it's like, well, what'd you do? And he told me on the phone, he was like, well, I'd probably do this and that. And I'm like, I don't know why you're calling me, dude. It kind of jokingly, but it's like, seriously, make the decision. And now those phone calls have dropped tremendously because I'm trying to get through to them. It's like, you're here because I'm expecting you to make the decision. You've proven yourself to make good decisions on these types of things. Do it. You know what I mean? Don't pull back. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. Obviously, do a good job. But you see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, 100%. Is you have to make, because, and there was actually one thing a guy always says, you know, it's, if you don't make a decision in business, somebody will make the decision for you. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it goes back to even saying, you know, indecision, right? If you don't make, you know, if you don't act or you don't decide, somebody will, you know, it will be, that is deciding, right?
100%.
You know, so it's not that I didn't choose an option. No, not choosing an option is choosing an option.
Yeah.
You chose not to choose one.
Yep.
You know, so there is always a decision being made.
Yeah.
You know, even when we say indecision, no, indecision is a decision.
Yeah.
You know, so it will get a little confusing for the ones that aren't paying attention.
Yeah.
So pay attention to that, but that's exactly what it is you are deliberately deciding not to do a certain thing. You're deliberately going away from what you could choose from. There is two options, but there's always a third. If there's only one option, there's always a second.
Right.
And that second option is not choosing that option. So there's always something there, and you are always making that choice. And what I always try to tell everyone is when they're coming on and they're going through that, and even for me getting into something new and a different experience, it's, oh yeah, I'm going to make as many mistakes as possible. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, oh, I don't want to make a mistake. I can't make a mistake. I can't do that. I can't decide this, because if I decide it's bad, then I'm going to get, you know, and it's like, no, make the decision now.
Yeah.
You make the decision now and it's bad.
Yeah.
Learn from it.
Seriously.
Now, if you didn't learn, that's bad.
Yeah.
But if you learn from it, guess what? You're never going to have it happen again.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because you and I could probably, like, for those of you watching, this entire back wall, if it was a whiteboard, we could probably fill up all the bad decisions we've made since we've been working together. But on another whiteboard where it's like, have we done it again? There'd be like nothing, because like, dude, we make mistakes all the time.
Yeah,
that's the point of it, though. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's where I love it. And I had a buddy call me, mm-hmm. and he's like, hey, I need some help about some stuff going on in California. Another company called me and they had some questions about terminating someone who made a mistake where they were, you know, where they're working, and it cost the company $20,000. And they fired him. And I'm like, okay, well, was he bad? Was he a bad employee? Right. And they were like, no, yeah, I mean, nothing up till that point. I'm like, well, then why the hell did they fire him?
Yeah.
Why would you fire someone who just had a $20,000 learning experience?
Mm-hmm.
You literally threw that away in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you just got a degree. Give me that piece of paper. I'm going to shred it. I'm going to delete that you ever did it, and I'm going to put it in the trash.
Now let's start fresh.
Now let's start fresh.
Yeah.
With someone who's going to make literally the same mistake at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you do that?
That's a good point.
But those are decisions. So many people get held up on, well, what if that happens?
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to.
Yeah.
You think your manager's perfect? No.
Nope.
No. Never. You think the owner's perfect? No. The crappy thing is he has to tell you, or the manager has to tell the subordinate, hey, you screwed up. Here's a write-up, right? Now this is a learning experience. Let's learn from this, but here's your write-up. The owner, when he makes a mistake, he has to go home and live with that for weeks on end and look back at how many mistakes he's made, and he's got to carry that on his back. You make a mistake and get fired. You go to the next place. Just don't make that mistake again.
Yeah.
You don't have to necessarily carry that with you. They have to carry that with them. They lose $100,000 at a job or a massive contract or whatever it was because of their mess up. They have to live with that. They live with the pain of seeing their business decline. They live with that. But, you get to leave and you get to come back and everything's perfect. You go to the next place and it's like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
No one knows your past. So as the employee, as the subordinate, you don't carry that with you.
Right.
Even as management, you don't necessarily have to carry that with you with those mistakes or those indecisions or decisions, that you're making, because you can just go to the next place.
Like nothing happened.
Yeah. Owners, you're going to have to live with that. You have to live with that. If you make that mistake, you get to see that mistake every day on the books until you do something to change that and bring that business back up.
What a learning experience.
Oh yeah. But the decision side of it, it's huge.
It is.
It's all there, and it's rough. It can be really rough at some points. But that was management.
Yeah.
What other management stuff have you seen? I went on probably too long on that, but
no, it was all good stuff. I think something that you and I do really well is we've separated tasks and responsibilities based on what our skill sets are and how our business model is kind of going right now. You know? Just for example, I'm more of like the day-to-day with like the actual technicians and the technical side of it. Daniel's more of like the back end. He's doing a lot of like the vehicle maintenance, a lot of the office, a lot, you know what I mean? So there's tons of different things that we're doing, but it's very clear now. It's like, Daniel gets a phone call from a technician about something that's in the field under my, jurisdiction. He's like, hey, Aaron, deal with this. Like, this is your guy. This is your thing. I'm like, cool, I got it. He doesn't have to sit there and say, how did that go? What happened? I mean, obviously if we have time, we'll, but the point is, it's like, I'm not going to sit here and waste my time trying to brainstorm something that's not in my lane, because I know that I can trust Daniel to make that decision because we've gone through that. And even if it's the wrong decision, whatever, it's like, he's going to fix it. We're going to deal with it together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and that's what it has to be as on a management level, and everything above that is we have to decide. And the quicker that we can make that decision is the faster that we can actually start to move.
Right.
And that's something that we did not hit on yet, is your indecision of not making that, whatever it may be, and I'll give an example of when you can and when you can't. Right. Yeah. But if you take 5 days to finally decide on what to happen, you are 5 days behind. And now you're 5 days behind the action side of it. Okay. Give you a prime example. We needed a vehicle a couple months ago because one was in the shop. It was getting repaired. We didn't know when it was necessarily going to be back. And so what did we do? Bought another vehicle. Boom, we're running. We're going. We had to make the decision. It was very quick. I went down there, bought a truck, got it off the lot. See ya. Done. All in one day. Took me a couple hours and I was done.
Yep.
Okay. We didn't have a choice to wait. It was, we have to buy a vehicle, right? Or we would have to rent one.
Correct.
We chose to buy, but we had to make that decision quick. We have another decision right now. We can buy another vehicle, but we have extras back there.
Yeah.
Right. But since we're running two different companies, they're two different logos. So how are we handling that, and what can we do? We have extra vehicles, so we don't have to buy a vehicle right now. So we have all the time in the world to sit and think for a minute. It's not forever, but we do have to sit and think.
Yeah.
You know, as vehicles get more mileage on them and things start to come up, we're going to have to start making a decision.
Yep.
Do we want to sell those vehicles now? Do we want to buy those vehicles? Right? These are times when you can take your time. The vehicle still runs. It's okay.
Yeah.
Think about it. You know, start to create a plan. You have time. Okay. Now, there's sometimes you don't have a decision. You don't have time to make a decision.
Correct.
You have a technician who's out there pissing off customers. Customers are requesting that they never come back to their house. You don't have the luxury to sit there and say, let's wait it out.
Let's see how he does for another couple of weeks.
Yeah, you do that, you're going to lose customers. And when you start to lose customers, your revenue is going to start to dip. It starts to dip. You're going to start freaking out.
Yep.
So you don't have the luxury to sit there and decide on that. It is pull them in, get rid of them, find someone new. Right? There's times when you can and you can't. Office, you get a brand new phone call, right? Brand new customer, get them signed up and they're like, hey, we need it done as soon as possible. And you're like, oh no, where do I put them? Where do I put them? Where do I put them? Can I call you back? Once I find a spot to put you, I'll give you a call back here in 5-10 minutes and I'll let you know. Yeah. It's like you do not have the luxury to sit and think about where they go. You have to make a decision on the spot. Yeah. And in some cases you do have. And the customer's like, hey, I've been with you guys forever. I don't really care where you put me, you know, just send me a notification, send me a text once you get it scheduled.
Yeah.
Perfect. You got all day to figure that out and you can put them in the perfect spot.
Yeah.
You know, so there's times to make that and there's times not, you know, and so you have to be able to understand when those are and when those aren't. And when you figure that out, then you're fine. But it's always coming back to the indecision or decisions.
It's perfect.
And when you make the wrong one, are you learning? Right?
That's good. So, point of it, if you're indecisive, start making mistakes. It's the only way we're really going to grow and learn from those mistakes. You know, we kind of went through the technicians, the office, and even management on some of how the indecisiveness can get you hung up in your growth there. And it's so true. But like we were saying the whole time, you know, don't be afraid. Obviously, there are certain times where you do want to sit there and actually brainstorm and collaborate on some of the bigger pieces that need to move forward. But a lot of the day-to-day stuff, guys, you're going to see yourself having a lot more freed up time to grow, to do better, to do more things, have more opportunities when you can make decisions faster. So if this sounds like someplace you work at, maybe it's time to self-reflect or maybe share this with somebody who has a hard time making decisions in your office or out in the field. You know, and again, Daniel and I are not gurus. We're not experts. We've just made tons of mistakes and we're good at making mistakes fast and not making them again, which is why we did want to share this with you. So if you found value in this, please share it with somebody that you work with or somebody that you think would benefit from it. You guys know you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. We're posting on Instagram, we're posting on Facebook. But if you do want to get a hold of us, also we have the DNA pestcontrolpodcast.com to come on and be a guest, talk about all this. But thank you again for listening to the DNA Pest Control Podcast.